everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make Llen's jacket. So I will be going through how to make the pattern pieces and cutting out the fabric and sewing it all together. So stay tuned. I'm starting off with this jacket that I have in my closet that is very similar to her jacket. I'm gonna do this a little bit different from her design. I don't know if you guys noticed in the front, it actually opened all the way to her waistline instead of all the way to the bottom of the jacket. I am going to do the full cutout from all the way to the bottom so it will be easier to get in and out. I fold my jacket the reverse way of folding a jacket so I can have the front part like this, and then I tucked in the collar and making sure everything just lines up. Now I'm just going to mark at places so I can make my pattern piece. Now that I kind of just make some marks around, especially if it's just a straight line, you just mark it from the bottom and top, and then you just draw a straight line later. So now we're at the armhole, and all you just got to do is just fold back the sleeve so you get that curve and just mark. I think I marked everything. I'm just going to take it off. Going to connect our lines. Next, we should just add seam allowance all over. A reminder, make sure you measure out your jacket because she does have a white trim that's about 1 inch wide. So I wore this on me and I like where it stops because there's enough room to add that extra inch. Now to cut out our pattern. Folding the other way, we're going to trace the back. For the sleeve, I took some paper and folded it hot dog style. So the faux creases are here. And don't mind this because I messed up a few times doing this. So I'm going to start with the back. So taking the shoulder seam, well, there's no shoulder seam, but taking the shoulder part, it's gonna line it with the fold, and taking your sleeve where the fold is right here, the top, you're gonna line it with the fold. So it should be at an angle. Remember to leave some room so you can add your seam allowance. Trace this shape. Now we're gonna do the front. Also, you want to make a mark where you start tracing so you know where to start. So I went back and retraced my armhole. I redid on both sides, but now it looks kind of weird from the top. I'm going to do a prototype with the sleeve. I did straight lines down, but then I realized it might be too much fabric, so I just went in 1 inch on each side from the front and the back. Not as much as the other jacket, but just enough to roll up comfortably. Add seam allowance all the way around. I'm going to add 2 inches or 4 inches. The sleeve has cuffs, and I'm just going to roll up about 2 inches. I want to fold over twice, so 4 inches. To add my extra piece to my sleeve, I'm going to add more paper. And to do this is pretty simple. Some extra paper underneath. We're going to tape from the back. So with this ruler I have right here, this is 18 longwise, and it's actually 2 inches the width. 4 inches. So the edge of my sleeve right here with the seam allowance, how it's angled, and I just draw a line And of course, at the seam allowance, you just follow that same line with your seam allowances. And you have your seam allowance for that side. And then you do the same thing to the other side. Now our sleeve pattern is done. I'm going to do a minor adjustment, take down 1/2 inch, and this will make it a lot more easier for the sleeve and a little extra room for my arms to move around. I'm going to seam rip all this out. So taking the front pattern, I'm going to line this up. Oh wait, I cut off. That's right, I trimmed part of this off so I can get a better fit. So I'm just going to line it out with the other pieces, like the front part that's not been sewn or touched. Mark this spot. This is my new line. Blend this in with that line. To blend this in, this is what I meant by blending in. Taking my French curve, I'm going to line this up where I marked and into that seam. That looks pretty nice. I will add my new seam allowance and then you just trim that part off. I'm just going to do the same thing to the back. For the collar, it's actually going to be pretty simple to make. I think what I'm going to do is draw a straight line and then we'll just trace this out, the shape of it. I'm going to measure here to here. Let's say it's about 16. I'm going to say just is 16. Measure this too. To measure curve, it's best you actually lay your measuring tape up like this. It's exactly 3 inches. 3 inches times 2 is half of the back, so 6 inches. And then we're going to measure here. And I also have to put in consideration that the collar on the jacket stops right there at the corner, which is right there. 5 inches and 5/8. So there's a 5/8 difference. So this is 5 and 5/8. This is, so you have to double that measurement. And how much is that? A grand total of 17 and 1/4. I'm just going to follow the 17 and 1/4 measurement. Taking the jacket, I am going to place it in the middle, trace the shape. Straight line here. I'll probably just make this a straight cut, still like a curve to make my life easier. I am going to go to the same angle as how it is on the jacket. And to do that, you just line up your ruler. Pretty much just drag out your ruler, trying to stay exactly the same length on both sides until you get to that point. And if it looks good, that looks pretty good. And you just draw that line. Yay! Now we just have to add seam allowance. Now our collar piece is done. Here are all my main pieces patterns out. So I'm gonna actually start cutting these out on my fabric. So here's my fabric. So this is like a really nice pink that I like. There's like different kind of other pinks, but I like this shade. I got like 4 yards of this and it keeps going, but I'm just kind of afraid that I'll run out, but I think I'll be good. 4 yards is like, I think it's like a rayon kind of polyester fabric. I'm not sure, I just took it because it felt nice. I didn't want anything too bulky. This is pretty lightweight. It's also not thin, so it's like a medium weight. I'm gonna lay everything on the fold. Taking my front, I'm gonna lay the center front right here to the fold. We're gonna pin the back seam and sew it. I went and pressed my back piece so it looks really nice, and I press out down the seam too. So we're also going to mark that 1/2 inch that I told that I was going to take down. I realized that you're going to have to take out from the sleeve so it can fit. So it's pretty simple. Since I took this off, I'm just going to line this up. And wherever it stops, I just mark right there. So I'm just going to do the same thing, just take my pattern, lay on top, mark it, and that would be my new seam. Yeah, I will have to cut it off from the piece. So the good thing that I have to take away fabric is still adding fabric. Make sure that you know which side is the right side and the wrong side, because sometimes some fabric will look the same. Now I just have to remark on my sleeve and cut out the excess fabric. I'm going to serge the edge of my sleeve on each piece so I can fold up my cuffs. So I already sewn my gather stitches. I just realized that it would be best if we fold up our cuffs now. What I have here is my right side of the fabric, and this is my wrong side. I have it folded up 2 inches. This is the first fold, and then we'll fold it again to hide the raw edges. So you just follow that line, this part right here, because it's already 2 inches, and then we'll press. I'm going to do a top stitch. We'll have 2 stitches here. I think I'm just going to play around and see what I like. So I don't know about you guys, but I find this so satisfying. So I decided to do 2 rows of top stitches for the cuff. So I did one, I think at 1/8. So one at 1/8 and another one at 3/8 on both sides. And it's so nice. I just can't stop looking at this. I'm gonna do this to the other sleeve, and then now I'm able to sew together my sleeves. Taking the right side of the front of the jacket, we are going to do something a little bit different. So that middle part in the front, here's a little sketch of what I'm going to be doing. Seam allowance here is 1/2 inch. So we're going to be taking and just folding in 1/4 in from this part over. So from here to here, 1/4. That's going to cut down on the area. If I were to sew here 1/2 inch, the seam allowance, this area would be shorter than what I want. So to keep it balanced at 1.5 inch, we're going to, for only this side right here, we're going to do 1/4 seam allowance instead of 1/2 inch, because we want to equalize and make sure that area does not change at all. So once we fold this over 1/4, we're going to do a top stitching at 1/8. Once we sew this part with the facing, we have a nice edge, and it will do that 1/8 top stitching there too. Hopefully that makes sense. I laid on my ruler. This is exactly 2 inches. I'm going to draw a line for guidance from this point all the way down. I got my line there. So now I'm going to go marking a line 1/4 down. So that line is going to be the line that I will take to this edge. 1/4 below it. So now we're just going to fold the white line to the blue line. Got all this pinned down. I know you guys are thinking since this is 1/4 that we fold up and we're stitching out 1/8. How's that impossible? That means that you have to catch at the very edge of it. Now with the top stitching, but I did a pretty good job. One spot right here that didn't catch on. Since most of it got cut on, it kind of just lays pretty well just by itself, so it's not sticking all out. If I just press this down and just leave it how it is, I think it will be fine. But now we're going to make the facing. With the facing, you can do 2 ways. You can take your front piece and just trace that part out. Or since this is exactly 2 inches, you can just use the ruler. What I'm going to be doing is actually making my own pattern piece. The front of the jacket is 20 by 3/4. Just going to line this out with the edge of the papers, and then I'll just trace out the entire piece. I ran out of paper, just a tiny bit of the corners cut off. I'm gonna add a little piece of paper right there. So I'm gonna cut 2 fabric and 4 interfacing. We're gonna fuse the facing and also the front part of the jacket. This is the left side of the jacket. So this is the right side. I have the pin right here, indicating that's the right side. I'm gonna flip it, and then taking my interfacing, the bumpy side is going to be on the wrong side. So wrong side. Taking interfacing, sticky side on the wrong side. And I'm going to do the same thing with these. So all of my pieces are fused. Next, I'm just going to serge one side of these facing right here. So just either side because they're the same. Serge one side of each facing. Taking one of the jacket piece, have the right side up. Then I'm going to take one of the facings and have the right side with right side. And then I'm going to have to serge not onto the edge but out. Then we're going to pin in place. We're going to sew from here to this corner all the way down straight here to there, leaving this side open so we can flip it inside out. So now I'm just going to clip all the way around. So I can clip here and down here, stopping right here. And so I'm going to trim here in the corner. So with the corner, I'm going to trim right here. And here, I'm gonna trim like about half. And here, I'm gonna trim just to here. Actually, just a little bit to here, actually, just in case. And then we can flip it inside out, and you have like this nice clean edge. So I'm just gonna trim this a little bit too. Corner, part of here. This one doesn't need any trimming because it's already very small seam allowance. For this piece, we're going to press this down and we're going to do top stitching at 1/8 on this side. So to drape my front piece, I place a piece of fabric roughly the size of the pocket I want. The width of this pocket is 4 inches and I'm going to make it 5 inches long. I mark my placement for each corner where I want it. Now I'm gonna make a pattern piece. Here is my pocket piece. So she has like a pocket flap that's a little bit over half of the size of the pocket. Split this in half. It's not quite 1/3 1/3 of the pocket pleater. I would say it's, so that's half the pocket. Hers would be like right here for the flap. And we're just gonna make it to 2 inches. So I'm gonna make a pattern piece for the flap that is 2 inches long and 4 inches wide. I didn't cut this out yet because I'm gonna add extra fabric to the top right here so we can do a little fold over, and it's exactly an inch. And for the seam allowance, I probably just use 1/4. This you don't have to add seam allowance because when you use 1/4, that's plenty of room for it to fold over. We're not quite done with this pattern pocket piece because I'm going to divide them into 3 parts just like hers. So she has 2 pieces that's about the same size, that's larger than the middle piece. So I divided mine into 1.5 inches on both sides and 1 inch in between. I'm going to cut these out and add seam allowance all around all 3 pieces, which is 1/4. Now I'm going to cut these out, cut 4, 2, and 4. I'm going to start with this piece. Placing right size to right size, we're going to sew all the way around, leaving this opening here. I'm going to clip the corners so it will lay a little bit nicer. If you want, you can trim a little bit more. Now we can turn these inside out, press these down. Since we are having this top stitching look to it, I'm going to do top stitching on these 2. For these pieces, we're going to sew them together. So you have the big piece, and then in between is the tiny piece. Now we're going to stitch them together. I'm transferring my marks for my pocket to the other side of the jacket. I put 2 pins right here where it's marked, and then I put the other side of the jacket right sides together. By filling the pin, I mark it there. I put a pin here, and I get my marking. And now my pockets are marked. Next, I am going to do markings for the flap of the pocket. I hope you guys remember the line that I drew right here, which is 1 inch. Now first we're going to pin this one onto the jacket. So that line is where that fold should be. So I place my pocket right here. What I did here is I pinned down, and then I mark where I'm going to stop. And then I pin this up so it'll be easier to sew. So from here to here, all the way down over here. For the actual pocket, I already did the top stitching on the seam on each side, and then also trim the back of the seam. I also press the 1/4 seam allowance, and I'm going to top stitch right here by itself, and then I'll place it onto the jacket and do top stitching 1/8 around. This is how my pockets turn out. They're looking really good. So now I can start sewing my jackets together. I'm gonna sew shoulders together and sexy. Before I sew on my sleeves, I am going to serge the seam, not together. So serge on this side, then serge on this side, doing the same to the shoulder and side seams. I got my sleeve pinned on. After the sleeves, we're gonna do the collar. So I cut 2 fabric of the collar and 2 interfacing views on both sides of the fabric. Now we're going to sew our collar together. You're only going to be stitching the edge and this long part of the collar, leaving the short side open so we can flip inside out. Cut the corners and then we're going to trim. I'm going to serge the edge of the collar before I sew it onto the jacket. So I fold my collar in half and I mark the middle. And I'm going to line this out with the center back. So just taking just one side of the collar, we're just going to pin around first. Taking the back part, we're going to lay it flat and then we're going to stitch in a ditch. And also when I get to this part, since the collar goes a little bit over to overlay, I'm going to stop where it ends right here. And then I'm going to do a top stitching. So it kind of goes like this and it just folds over. So I have my collar laying down flat and pin. Now I'm just going to do the stitch and ditch. I made a hem band that is 20 1/4 inches long and 2.5 inches wide. And I'm going to be cutting this on fold. I'm going to cut 2. Serge one side of each of the band. Now with the right sides together, I'm going to pin them together. And then we're going to be doing the exact same thing what we did with the collar. So we're going to stitch here all the way down into that corner right there, leaving this open. I'm going to do the exact same sewing for the collar. So I'm going to start from here and then stitch all the way across. I'm also going to trim a little bit extra because for some reason I guess the flannel like stretched out. This is exactly what I did for the collar that I'm doing for the hem. This is the jacket all together. The hem came out really good. And the overlay is nice. So this is like really last minute, but I put Velcro because I was going for a con and I was going to do snaps and that was going to take forever to do. So on to I went with Velcro and I think I might just stick with this. Sleeves looks nice. Collar and pocket. If you guys haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe for more cosplay tutorials and some more cosplay videos. And also stay tuned for the next tutorial, which are the pants. Until next time, I'll see you guys later. Bye!